Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what's really going on in a woman's mind when her desire is at its peak? Most men miss the signs completely. Not because women don't show them, but because they show them in ways you'd never expect. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 powerful things women do when they're feeling that intense pull of desire. And trust me, once you understand these signals, you'll never look at her words, her body language, or her behavior the same way again. Stay with me till the end, because the last one is the most surprising, and it's the one almost no man knows how to recognize. When we talk about desire, especially from the perspective of women, we often fall into the trap of assuming will always be spelled out in words. But here is the truth: women rarely announce their desire openly. Instead, they express it through actions, through subtleties, through little signs that may seem insignificant on the surface but speak volumes if you're paying attention. This is because desire, for many women, is not just a physical state. It's an emotional and psychological dance. It's layered. It's textured. And those layers are revealed in gestures, tones, glances, and movements far more than in direct statements. Think about it. A woman may lean in closer when you're talking, and it may seem like a small thing. But what she's really telling you is that she's seeking more of your presence. She may laugh a little louder at your jokes, or touch her hair while looking at you, or linger just a moment longer in a hug. These are not random behaviors. They are her way of letting desire surface without exposing herself to vulnerability too directly. It's an invitation without saying the words out loud. And when you begin to see these things for what they are, you realize that actions often tell a richer, more honest story than words ever could. But here is where many men miss it. They either dismiss these subtle signs or misinterpret them. The tragedy is that when you don't see her cues, you miss the opportunity to deepen connection, to step into a moment of closeness that could transform the relationship. And on the other side, when you misread them and act without sensitivity, you risk making her feel unsafe or misunderstood. The power lies in awareness, in learning to listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes, your intuition, and your respect. Desire speaks in actions because actions carry less risk. When a woman acts in small ways, through body language, tone of voice, or proximity, she's testing the waters. She's asking silently, "Do you see me? Do you feel me? Can I trust you with this part of me?" This is why it's not enough to just look at her behavior on the surface. You have to understand the emotional weight behind it. A glance, a touch, or a playful tease might be her way of handing you a piece of her vulnerability. How you respond determines whether she'll open up more or whether she'll retreat and build walls. This is where true maturity in a man shines. Because it's not about being clever or smooth or quick to act. It's about being present enough to recognize her language and respectful enough to honor it. When a man learns to read a woman's actions without rushing, he becomes the kind of man women feel safe desiring. And that's when the connection deepens. That's when attraction becomes magnetic. You see, there's something profoundly beautiful about paying attention. In a world where people are often distracted, hurried, and self-absorbed, the man who notices the little things stands out. He becomes rare. He becomes unforgettable. Because he's not just reacting to the obvious. He's listening to the unspoken. And that's where intimacy truly begins. And let me say this, women don't want men to decode every tiny detail with suspicion or over-analysis. What they want is presence. They want to feel that you are attuned enough to pick up on the signals without making it about conquest. It's about connection, not calculation. When a woman desires you, her actions will tell you. But it's your responsibility to slow down, to see her, and to meet her at that place of quiet communication. So, the next time a woman leans in just a little closer, or holds your gaze a little longer, or allows her touch to linger, pause and notice. Don't rush to respond out of ego or assumption. Instead, acknowledge it with grace, with gentleness, with patience, because when you do, you give her permission to open herself even more. And that, my friends, is when desire evolves into something far greater. It becomes intimacy, it becomes trust, it becomes a bond that's far deeper than physical attraction alone. Let this sink in. Desire is rarely shouted, but it is always shown. And when you begin to respect the silent language of a woman's actions, you stop missing the very moments that could change your relationships forever. Because the truth is, what she does often speaks louder than anything she could ever say. So the next time you find yourself wondering what a woman really feels, don't just listen with your ears. Listen with your eyes, with your heart, and with your respect. Because in her actions, she's already telling you everything you need to know. And here's the final thought to carry with you. When you learn to honor the language of her actions, you don't just uncover her desire, you earn her trust. And when a woman trusts you with her desire, that's when real connection begins. Now, let's take this a step deeper, because while the first point reminded us that desire often lives in action more than words, the second truth we need to understand is that desire is often wrapped in vulnerability. When a woman reveals signs of attraction or longing, she is not simply showing you a playful side of herself. She is opening a door into her private world, one that she does not allow everyone to enter. And that is where the gravity of the moment lies. Think about this carefully. For many women, expressing desire is not just about chemistry, it's about risk. It's about risking rejection, risking judgment, risking that her deepest feelings or impulses will not be received with the care they deserve. When she lets her guard down, even in the smallest ways, what she's really saying is, I trust you enough to let you see this part of me. That is not a trivial offering. It's a gift. And gifts must be honored. This is where so many relationships falter. Because instead of receiving her vulnerability with presence, patience, and respect, many men rush in with assumption, with ego, with entitlement. They mistake her openness as an invitation to take rather than a call to nurture. And when that happens, she withdraws. She closes the very door she dared to open, and the opportunity for intimacy is lost. But here's the transformative perspective. When you recognize her desire as a form of vulnerability, you no longer approach it with casualness. You begin to see it as sacred ground. You understand that what she's showing you is not just attraction. It's trust. And trust is the foundation upon which lasting desire is built. Without it, no chemistry can survive for long. Let me put it this way. When a woman desires you, she is handing you the raw material of intimacy. How you shape that moment, how you respond, will determine whether it grows into something lasting or fades into regret. Do you meet her openness with attentiveness? Do you respect her pace? Do you create space for her to feel safe in her expression? These are the questions that separate fleeting attraction from meaningful connection. Because what women long for, at the core, is not simply to be desired in return. They long to be safe in their desire. They want to know that when they lean in, you won't pull away or trivialize it. They want to feel that their yearning, their signals, their gestures will not be mocked, dismissed, or exploited. And when a man offers that safety, when he can hold her vulnerability without making her feel small, he becomes unforgettable in her eyes. It is a paradox, really. We live in a culture that often portrays desire as bold, loud, even reckless. But the reality for many women is that it is tender, quiet, cautious. It requires care. And men who understand this are able to create a depth of connection that goes beyond physical chemistry. They become the ones she not only wants but trusts, the ones she can lean into fully, without fear of being mishandled. Let me challenge you with this thought. When you see her signs of desire, whether it's in her eyes, her touch, her laughter, or her presence, pause and ask yourself, am I creating safety in this moment? Am I honoring the courage it took for her to show this to me? If your answer is yes, then you are building something that will outlast a fleeting spark. You are building intimacy that grows richer with time. And here's why this matters so deeply. Desire without safety is exhausting. Desire without respect is dangerous. But desire with trust, that is life-giving. That is where passion and peace can coexist. That is where love finds its deepest expression. So the next time you notice her desire peeking through the veil of her actions, remember you are not just witnessing attraction. You are being trusted with her vulnerability. Treat it with reverence. Handle it with care. Because in that moment, how you respond will not only define her experience of you, it may very well define the entire trajectory of your connection. And the closing truth is this: when you can make a woman feel safe in her desire, you do more than awaken her attraction. You awaken her soul's trust. And trust is the seed from which true love, enduring passion, and unshakable connection are born. Now, as we move into the final truth, let's bring everything together, because this third point is not only the culmination of what we've been building. It's the place where desire, vulnerability, and connection converge into something deeper. If the first realization taught us to notice, and the second invited us to honor her vulnerability, then this last one challenges us to recognize the responsibility that comes with her desire. Desire is never random. When a woman reveals it, even in subtle, quiet ways, it is not an accident. It is an intentional act, whether conscious or not. She is choosing to share with you something she does not give freely to the world. She may not always speak it in words, but the energy is unmistakable. Her gestures, her tone, her presence, they all carry meaning. And what you must understand is that her desire is not a puzzle to solve, but a trust to be earned. This is where maturity steps in, because too often, people chase the thrill of attraction without ever pausing to ask, what does this mean for her? What does it mean for me? And what kind of space am I creating for this moment to unfold? When men ignore these questions, they risk reducing something sacred to something shallow. But when a man slows down and accepts her desire as a sign of something significant, he elevates the experience from fleeting passion to meaningful connection. Here's the deeper truth. A woman doesn't just want to feel desired. She wants to feel understood. She wants to know that her signals are not only received, but also respected. This is the real test, because anyone can notice attraction, but not everyone has the wisdom to handle it with grace. And this is where men often underestimate the power they hold. Not the power to take, but the power to shape how safe, seen, and valued she feels in that moment. Think about it. When a woman shows desire, she is saying, I'm letting you into my world. And your response will either affirm her courage or cause her to retreat if you meet it with presence, with patience, attentiveness, and genuine care. You are telling her, without words, you are safe here. Your desire matters. You matter. That is the kind of response that transforms attraction into something unforgettable. This is why the greatest relationships are never built on chemistry alone. Chemistry is powerful, yes, but it is only the spark. What sustains the flame is how each person handles the other's vulnerability. When a man understands this, when he learns to honor her desire, not as an opportunity for conquest, but as an invitation into deeper